Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Zoe and in today's video I want to talk about all the books that I read in June. And I read in June 18 books, which is around 6,242 pages. In June I had one book that I not rated, 1 2-star, 7 3-stars, 8 4-stars and 1 5-star book, which is around an average rating of 3.53, which is not that good compared to the other ones that I had so far, but still like an average rating that I have overall for this year. I think I start now talking about the books because it's a lot and I have a lot to say. I think the best book we start with is the book that I not rated. If you watch my Cheersathon vlog, you will already know which book it is. It's My Year of Rest of Relaxation by Ottessa and Moshfegh. And I'm sorry, I don't know where my voice is, but she's not there today. This book was painful. In this book we read about a nameless character who would suffer from severe depression and actually also like addiction to sleeping pills, and we read about her suffering from the depression, and she has the need to sleep for a whole year. The thing is with this book, I kind of liked it, but also not. I liked the description of depression because when I read her description how depression feels to her and what she can't do because she's so exhausted, I can relate to that for 100%, because this is also the way it felt for me. But it stops there of how much I can relate to her, because she's a horrible person. And I talked about this in my Cheersathon vlog. I told you the sentence that I don't really like in this vlog. I will not do this here, you can watch it there. I hate it and also love it. This is all I can say. But definitely the feeling to sleep for a whole year. Depression is so relatable because the exhaustion that you can feel with depression is so unreal. And when I was in the high of my depression, I also had the wish to sleep for a whole year. And yeah, I can relate to that, but the rest, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And now we get to my only 2-star book, which is These Were in the Lights by Gong. My problem with the book is, I talked about this in the live show with Lucy. This was for Lucy's book club, Lucy, and I talked about this with Lucy and Simone. My problem for this book was not that I thought it was bad, it was just not for me. And my thing is, my expectations were so high because of TikTok, and everyone promised me like enemies to lovers, and the enemies to lovers was so trash because I thought Juliet and Roma had no chemistry between them. There was like no sparks, there was nothing, and I couldn't really tell why they would do anything for each other because I didn't feel the connection between them. And also, I never read Romeo and Juliet from Shakespeare. I never read it, but I know the story and I don't know how this ends. And I don't know, it was not really interested in Juliet's and Roma's part. And also, I have a really high fear of bugs. And when I see bugs, read about bugs, I get really sick. I could screaming, crying, throwing up, running away, all of this above. I would do everything. And in this story there were a lot of like bugs, and I really hated it. And it was so bad that I considered DNFing this book just for the bugs. So if you can read it, if you don't like bugs and you can read about it, don't do it, because it's terrible. But there was only one thing that I really liked in the story, and I wished that Gong just wrote about this theme in the books, and this was reading about Shanghai in 1926, because this was the only interesting part in this book, was to read how Shanghai was back then after the Great War, and when Russia was there and USA. And this was really interesting to read about, and I was also sad that I don't know anything about this time in different countries. Of course I know what happened in Germany after the Great War and the Second World War, because we fucked up everything, and this is the easiest way to say that. So of course we learned a lot about what we did wrong. Of course we only learned about our countries, what happened there. I also didn't learn anything about the USA and what's going on there and what's in this time zone. We just learned about like what happened in Germany. So I was almost sad that I didn't know anything about this time in other countries, especially reading this from Shanghai, what happened there. I wish that we learned more, but also we had limited time. So I think it's good that I learned about these things in history class about Germany, because this was, I think, for Germans really important. But I wished I would knew more. So Chloe Gong, if you're seeing this, I will also read a whole history book from you. Now we need to get to my 3 stars. I start with my ebooks / audiobooks first. And the first book that I read on my Kindle was Under One Roof by Hazelwood, and this was Eddie Stemnist Novellas Book 1. And I give this in the end 3 stars. The woman in the story, she studied something in STEM. I can't remember what she studied. And she had a mentor, and the mentor died, and she got the half of her house from her mentor. But the problem is, in the other half got her nephew, and the woman in the story is poor as fuck, and she get a new job, and she doesn't have an apartment, and the renting situation in the USA is more fucked up than even in Germany, and I think this is like a whole world problem in the moment with the renting. So she was like, okay, I have half of a house, so let's move in. And so they get like roommates, and they hate each other, and then like they catch feelings for each other. And I need to say, the book was really short. It was 112 pages, but I really enjoyed how Eddie Hazelwood was capable of like writing this in a short book, like all the moments and feelings that you have in a normal romance book. So props to her for that. But this story didn't give me the same feeling as the Love Appetizers gave me. So I ended up like in this 3-star rating. Then I read one book from Hibbert. This is the 3rd book in the Ravenswood trilogy. This is that kind of guy, and I didn't expect it. But actually the main character in the story, Nate, the male love interest, is part of the LGBT+ community, because he's demisexual, and we follow now his story. Like his main problem in the story was his sexuality. This was his main problem. I just do this in quotation marks because I don't really think it's a problem. Okay, for him it was a problem. I also understand why he thinks it's a problem. I totally understand his point, but I do this in quotation marks because actually the female love interest in the story was very supportive and didn't care about this problem. So I really enjoyed the story because they were like so good for each other and like very supportive, and they helped each other. The only thing that I really didn't like in the story, and this is something I would don't like in any romance book that I read, is that the love story progressed really fast in the story, and especially for the fact that Nate always tells you that he needs time, and because he is demisexual, he don't really catch like a sexual attraction before he have really hard feelings for the other one, and the whole storyline happens in 2 weeks. I mean, you can also say, okay, it's not that hard because like they already know each other for a long time. Nate and the female love interest in the story, they know each other for like years now at this point. So there's already like, they know each other already, but still, I don't like it. And I will not like this in any story. Then I read Barbarians' Heart. This is book 10 in the Iceberg Barbarians here by Dixon. And I don't really want to tell you which couple this book is about, because this is a couple that already resonate in the beginning of the book series, and after something that happened in the 9th book, in 9.5 book, they need to find the love again. So it's just a huge spoiler for everything. So my main problem in the story was that in this book there was a really sensitive topic. I told you this multiple times, but I'm a nurse and I work with people that might experience something like that, and I don't really like the female character in the story because I didn't like how she acted around her mate and how she take care of him, because like this is the worst way you can take care of someone who experienced something horrible like that. So I ended up giving this 3 stars in the end. I still think the storyline from them is cute and they are like a cute couple, but her reaction and the way she acted the most of the time in the book, I didn't really like this, so I ended up giving this 3 stars. And then I read an arc, a German arc. This was a dark romance book, Clans of New York. I think I talked about this in one book. One book that I didn't edit. Maybe editing, so I will do this. This was an arc, and I don't read dark romance at all. I just wanted to give this a try because it sounded really interesting, and I need to say the main point why I ended up giving this 3 stars is, first of all, for the fact that the both main characters are really young. The female character is, I think, 18 and the male is 20, and I give bonus points for that because normally when I read dark romance books, the female character is really young, around 18, 19, and the male part is way older than her, like in the 30s, 40s, which is gross. But I give bonus points for that because they were not really far away from each other. Like my boyfriend and I, we have the same age difference from that book, but I hated the way how every character talked about women. And I know it's a dark romance. They're like, oh, there's happening so much. Why are you pulling out the feminist card? Because at least the woman in the story should know better. And I know this is a hard sentence that I said, but I hate it when women talk shit about other women and slut shaming them, because you should know better. You should really know better. I didn't have any expectations for the men in the story because my bar was already so low. It was not even on Earth anymore. It was not existent there. I didn't have any expectations. I was like, okay, what is the worst man I ever met in my entire life? And I even lowered my expectations for that in this book. So I was not surprised at all. But what I was surprised is that the female main character also talked shit as fuck about the other woman in the story. And yeah, I didn't like this. Why I ended up giving this 3 stars in the end is because after the point when they stopped talking shit about other women, the male and the female character in the story were actually a good couple and a cute couple. Also a book that I read on my Kindle is A Spy X Family Volume 1 by Tatsuya Endo, and I think the story was cute. I normally don't read manga, and I ask in the 12 pages Discord, like, okay, what's a good start for manga? And they were like, Spy X Family, and I read the first one, and I was not really overwhelmed from the story, but I also have the feeling that in the first novel you only met the characters in the story. So I definitely want to read the next mangas in the series. Now we get into my last two books that I have actually a physical copy here. The first book is Percy Jackson, the fourth book. I have mixed feelings about this. One thing is that I think it's awesome. I like how the story goes on, also with like Percy, Annabeth, Grover, the storyline with Kronos, and also like that Nico takes an appearance. And I think the book is really important for like going from the third one to the fifth one. Like from the third one was like a change point in the series, and the fifth one is like when the shit is going down. And I have the feeling this like was like a buffer like for the next one, and I can't really remember that, but I think also it was great, so I think my 3-star rating is good for that. In my last 3 stars is Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. I talked about this in my mid-year book freak out tag, that this was one of my biggest disappointment for this year, and I need to say I'm still think that this is true, because in Felix Ever After, the story is about Felix. Felix is black, trans and queer. Let's go to the good parts first. I think his representation also for the book community is really good, because when you read normally like queer books, or at least books that I hold so far in my hands, they're more about white people and not really about trans people. And trans, queer and black in the USA, this is hard to work. Like Felix, you got through some shit, and I'm very proud of you. And his storyline from his sexual orientation and gender experience is really good, but it doesn't change the fact that he's a horrible person. I'm sorry if you're liking this, but he is. I need to say that this would happen for him, to him in the beginning of the book was really horrible. Really horrible. Felix is in this like private art school, and he wants to go to like a special school. And in the school foyer is this how you call it, like the entrance for the school, okay? There are like pictures from his old Instagram pictures of him before he transitioned to a man, and also with his dead name under the pictures. And this is horrible. This is transphobic as fuck. And there's one thing good about this, is the way that he wants to find the person who did this and like call him out and destroy their life, which is fair. But the point where I was like, this is not okay behavior, is when he decided that this person was it with no like proof for that, and tried to catfishing him, tried to destroy his life and find out his secret, lie to him, which is not fair and horrible without proof. But what I liked in the end by giving this 3 stars was, besides the fact how Felix acted in the story, and was when Felix tried to discover himself, like, is my sexuality really my sexuality? Is the gender that I have really my gender? This doesn't feel right, but feels better. And like this way to discover something that works the best for you. And this is something I really enjoyed reading about, because I also learned something new from the story. And I also like the side characters when they discovered something new about like their sexuality, gender experience and something. This was great in the story. So now let's get to the 4 stars. Let's start with the ebooks and audiobooks that I listened to. The first one is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. This is also a book that I read in my Cheers Town vlog. So if you want to talk to me about this more, You can watch that. But in Delilah Green doesn't care. It's about Delilah. She's a photographer, and she takes the wedding pictures of her stepsister. Her and her stepsister, they don't have the best relationship. They didn't talk really in years. And on the first night, she met Claire, the best friend of the stepsister. The stepsister is called Astrid. And they meet, and they feel really felt a connection with each other. But then, like, the old problems came back up. So okay, Delilah is weird, and that kind of stuff. And I enjoyed the multiple storylines in the book. You didn't really only have the relationship between Delilah and Claire. You also have each family problem got discussed in the book, from Delilah, her experience in her past, having a stepsister, stepmother. Her parents died when she was a really young age, and she has no one left. Then you also follow Astrid's story out of the perspective from Claire and Delilah, but that doesn't matter. With her experience from her childhood, and also the present storyline with the wedding with her fiance. And you also follow Claire's storyline, not only also with the relationship between Delilah and Claire, but also Claire has also problems. She has a daughter, and she got her really young, and the problems with the father of the child, and all that kind of stuff. And I had a hard time getting into this book because this was not really what I expected. I thought this was a cute romance, and there were already like these big problems in the beginning that got discussed, and they were not really like hard topics, but still reading about like family drama is a lot in a romance book. But I ended up really enjoying this in the end, and I also liked how in the end everything turned out. So I ended up giving this 4 stars, and I really enjoyed this, and I want to read the book from as perfect perspective too. Then I got an arc, a German arc for Todesrauch. This is also a book I talked about in my Chesterton vlog. This is the 5th book in the Midnight Chronicles series. I don't want to talk a lot about here. It was a fantasy. I love the fantasy book. I really enjoy the series. A new favorite of mine. Can't wait to read the 6th book. Then I read from the Ravenswood trilogy. Hibbert released a prequel short story between the 1st and 2nd book, Damaged Good. I also read that in June, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. I need to say something in the beginning. Trigger warning for the book is domestic violence, and this whole book includes a pregnancy. So if you're not liking a pregnancy or can read about domestic violence, I would say stay away from the book, because this got discussed in the book, and I really enjoyed the story. I don't want to talk about which person it is in Damaged Good, because I think it will spoil the 1st book. But the female character in the story, she goes away from Ravenswood, and in a new town where she lives now, she met a guy that she had a relationship before, like 10 years before, and they fell in love again, and you follow their story. It's also a short book. It's 150 pages, and like I said, she is already pregnant when she gets to the new town, and this is why she left Ravenswood and the domestic violence storyline. So this is nothing you really read active about. She only talks about her experience in the past. So, and you follow now their story, and I think the storyline is really cute. And also liked the male part in the story, because he was so supportive. They already know each other, but like only the last time they talked to each other was like 10 years ago. So there was a lot of time passed, and I think I have high respect for that he takes so much care of her, and also like goes with her to doctor's appointments and stuff like that for the baby that is not his. And maybe I'm just so destroyed by men that maybe this is the bare minimum that someone can do, but I don't think that this is the bare minimum. This is premium content that you get here. So yeah, I really enjoyed this in the end and her storyline, so I ended up giving this. So now let's get to the books that I have a copy here. This first one is This Coven Won't Break. I also talked about this in my Chisaton blog. I didn't read this for Chisaton, I just had this with me this week when I read this. I finished this before Chisaton started. But this book, Coven Won't Break, is the second book in the duology. The first one was These Witches Don't Burn, and I enjoyed this a lot. I didn't enjoy this as much as I did the first one, but I really liked in the end how the whole storyline ended up, like how everything resolved in the end. And I also really like the magic system in this world, because after like all disappointments that I had with witch books, I was really excited to read in this world, because I think the magic system works and it was a lot of fun to read about this. And I also like the characters in the story, how the relationships and the characters develop, and I can really recommend these books to you. And then I read Loveless by Alice Oseman. I got also a German arc for that, but I also have like the copy here. I need to say I really enjoyed Loveless. And Loveless is about Georgia, and Georgia never experienced any sexual attraction or feelings for another person. And you follow in Loveless Georgia's story, how she discovered her sexuality and the whole process behind it, like from start to where she noticed that something is wrong with her. I'm also doing this again in like quotation marks, because there's nothing wrong about her. Like this is also here, okay, that she is asexual and aromantic, and this is nothing there's nothing wrong about her. She is just asexual and aromantic. There's nothing wrong, but I really, really enjoyed like the beginning of the university experience, meeting new people, discovering yourself, and I really, really enjoy this whole experience stuff. And you will notice that that I like this in a lot of books now, and I also can talk about another book that I really enjoy this. And reading this, and also for the fact that this is about asexuality and aromantic, this is also a new sexuality I read about. Not that sexuality is new, but normally when you read queer books, or the books that I read before, at least they were like about gay, bisexuality, lesbians, and yeah, the big three. Not the big three, you know what I mean. And asexuality is normally not the sexuality that you read about. So I really enjoy this, and this is definitely a new favorite of mine. I didn't end up giving this 5 stars because of one thing that happened in the book that I didn't really like and was kind of unfair from Georgia. And also, what also pissed me off is that Georgia has friends in the beginning of the story, and they are queer. And Georgia has friends that are bisexual, pansexual, and all the kind of stuff, or lesbians. And when she talks about her experience with sexual attraction and feelings for someone, and like the experience that she has no experience and showed no desire for it and feels nothing about like these things, that no one's brain clicked and was like, I think you're not bisexual, I don't think you're bisexual, I don't think you're pan, I also don't think you're lesbian, maybe you're asexual. And there's no one in this book with like, I might have an idea what you are. And this pissed me off. The next one is Anna Sunbeam. This was from Mel's Patron, by Tillie, Walden. This is the first book in a graphic novel series, I think. At least it says book 1 here. So what I liked in the story, I mean, I ended up giving this in the end 4 stars, so I actually liked this book. In the book, you read about it 2 times. In the book, the first one is when Mia was in a school and where she met Grace, and they both fell in love with each other, and then Grace disappears, and then you follow also Mia in the story when she's a little bit older, I think 5 years now, and she is now on a spaceship called Sunbeam and travels with like her crew to the universe and discover new planets, and like goes on some experience with them. For work, she works for a company, so she tried to find Grace again, what happened to her. And I really enjoyed the story in the book, because I really liked how Mia doesn't really have friends in school, and then you read about her in on the spaceship on Sunbeam, where she become friends with her crew and they experience things together, and then also when all of them try to find Grace in the end. And I really liked the friendship that was built and the whole experience of it, and I also really enjoyed the color scheme of the book. Oh, this was also stunning, and I really enjoyed this. There's one thing that I didn't really like in the book was that the faces are really similar to each other, and this is just a me problem, so if you have no problem with that, but I can't really recognize faces, especially new faces that I don't know. I don't try to connect me faces with names. They were so similar drawn that I can really recognize them. I was like, especially when they're all in scene together and they're talking, I was like, who the fuck is who? But this was just a me problem. So one of my 4 stars was Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney, and I enjoyed this book a lot. I'm not a thriller fan, like at all. I only read last year for the Thriller-ton. I read a few thrillers. I got this for Christmas, and now I read it, and I really enjoyed this. There was one thing that I kind of guessed, but I was not sure, and I was really surprised by the plots in the end, and I had a really great time reading this. The thing is, I don't know if like you're reading a lot of thrillers like this, if this will be your favorite. I think that I was kind of blind for the situation, but I think if you're like reading a lot of thrillers, you would kind of guess the ending. But I was also like, I was so surprised by the plots, and I really enjoyed the plots. And I was also, for the first time in my life, I was in the end like, yeah, kind of deserved. They deserved everything in the story. And the last 4 stars that I had in June is I Kissed Shara Reader by Kacen McQuiston. That's the newest release from this author, and I need to say that I didn't like Shara at all. She can joke, honestly. And if I would be a Chloe, if I got these pink fucking letters and I need to search for my worst enemy who in competition for the best, like who's the best in school and can talk in the end on this like graduation speech because she's the best one, I will not fucking search for Shara at all. At least I would start after the second letter. But it's just my opinion. What I liked in a book, where I ended up giving this 4 stars, and this was the same feeling that I have with Loveless, is the way how Chloe and like Shara's rugby football player boyfriend and one other random dude, I forgot his name, like how they all become a team and searched for Shara. Not for the fact that they search for Shara, I kind of ignored it, but the way how they find it together. Also with the fact that these 3 have for high school drama, like they have all different hierarchies. How this is not the right word. They all have like these different things, and they're not like in the same friend group, and how they in the end through Shara discovered that they have all something in common with each other. And I also really enjoy the side characters and how they discover things, how they finding they self, what their sexuality is, what their gender is. And this is something I really enjoyed as a book. I also enjoyed Chloe as a main character, but I did not enjoy Shara at all. This was also like a kind of enemies to lovers experience that I didn't need. But the rest of it was so good that I give this just 4 stars in the end. So, and the last book that I want to talk about is my 5-star of this month. This is Iron Widow by Siran J. Sao. And I read this also for the Chesterton. And I originally picked this up for the Chesterton because of the relationship that was promised to me before going in the book. Because the main characters in the stories are part of the LGBT community, and I definitely enjoyed the whole love story in the book. I was really here for it and was like kind of yeah when everything happened. But this was not the main point why I enjoyed this book in the end so much. It was more about Selian's story that she experienced, and the feminism that got discussed in the book, and how she like took revenge for all the women in the story. And this was the book that I was like, yes girl, slay it. And I was like I wish I could be you, but also kind of not, because I would get in really hard trouble if I was the way like she is. But this was amazing, and I can't wait to read the next book. I also cried a little bit in the end because it was sad. So this was my full 5-star experience that I need. I need tears, I need to be happy, I need to be angry, I need all the emotions that I need to feel, and then it's a 5 stars for me. Positive emotions, not pissed off emotions. So yeah, this was my 5-star, and I think in the end I had a really great reading month. My general rating was not that good compared to the other ones that I had in the last couple of months, but I would definitely say that the books that I really enjoyed, I enjoyed the book. So yeah, this was everything that I read. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will link everything that you need to know in the description down below. And if you have any questions, ask me them in the comments. Let me know what was your favorite book in June. Mine was obviously Iron Widow, and I think it was a great last book for the first half of the year. So let me know what your favorite book was, and then I will see you in my next video. Bye!